Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our book talk today. I'm Miss Savannah, and I'm going to be sharing with you 3 books from the LYRC book list for 2019 to 2020. Now, the LYRC books, for those who aren't familiar, are the Louisiana Young Reader's Choice Award. There's also the Louisiana Teen Reader's Choice, but that's for grades 9 through 12. The LYRC books cover 2 different categories, one from grades 3 to 5 and the other from grades 6 to 8. That is the group that I've focused on today, is that middle grade, that upper middle grade. Usually between 10 and 14 years old and from grades 5 to 9. The 3 books that I'm going to be sharing with y'all today are Greetings from Witness Protection, Beyond the Bright Sea, and The Red Bandana. Now, all 3 of these books have different categories, so I thought I'd, mix it up and give you a little bit of something in different categories. Well, if we're ready, let's get started. Okay, guys, the first book I'm going to talk about is Greetings from Witness Protection. That's by Jake Burt. This is kind of like a mystery thriller kind of book. It's also really, really funny. So be prepared to laugh. My name is Nikki Demir. I'm 13 years old, and I'm a foster care kid. New York native. It's not like I'm an orphan or anything. But my dad's been in jail for a while, and my grandmother raised me, but she passed away. But she did give me one very interesting skill before she went: pickpocketing. And man, I'm good. For different reasons, I've never been able to make it stick. Any foster home I land in, it just doesn't work out. So I've spent a lot of my time in the foster system and a lot of my days reading books. When I get nervous, however, I tend to steal little things like this, or this, or even these. Well, that had to change after my life changed when the U.S. Marshals came to get me. They say they needed me. They say a family needed me. Me? What about me? But in order to join this beautiful family, I have to give up everything and disappear. Let go of the dream I had that my father would one day come back to me and take me home. But according to the Marshals, he's been out of jail. So what am I waiting for? Turns out my new mom is beautiful and incredibly brave. Her husband, and her son are now in witness protection because she testified against her mobster family. It was a big court case. Now, they believe that their family might be in great danger. Unfortunately, during the most recent trial, my new mom's brother, Arturo, well, he got away. They couldn't pin anything on him. Mom says that's really bad because he's always been, well, he's always been the person that they go to for murder. As it turns out, Project Family is a new tactic for witness protection and helps hide families by creating a completely new life for them, including having a daughter now, me. Or rather, Charlotte Trevor, as I'm now known. So me and my new family moved from New York to North Carolina and tried to blend in. We started over with new identities, new backgrounds. What starts off a little shaky slowly becomes my new normal. I've even been getting along with my new younger brother. He seems so determined to hate me. Weird things started happening, though, leading us all to freak out in fear for our very lives. First, Arturo was released. Mom says he was the head button. Then, we started getting these really weird phone calls, but they were dead air. No one answered, and they would hang up eventually. It freaked us all out. On top of all of that, my new kid brother decided he needed to start a Facebook, even though it was explicitly against the witness protection rules. So I shut it down. Then, I kind of got comfortable with my new life. A little too comfortable. And a picture of me and my family ended up in the school's newspaper and on their website. Big mistake. I got it taken down, but we weren't sure if it was soon enough. Has Arturo found the information that'll lead him to us? Will we survive long enough to find out? You'll have to read and see. But I'll give you a little tidbit. The phone rings. Who could be calling this late? Jonathan grumbles. I hurry over to the phone and rip it off its dock. Sure enough, the number is unlisted. I press the button and bring the phone to my ear. Listen, Archer, I'm sorry for freaking out at you, but this stops now. We're never going to... Ese sorno al interno. I pull the phone away in confusion. Jonathan's eyes widen. Trembling, he translates. They're inside. Okay, guys. So the next book I'm going to be talking about is Beyond the Bright Sea by Lauren Wolk. It's historical fiction, so the setting and the place and everything are real, but the characters and the basic story are fiction. And this book is for 10 plus, grades 6 through 8. Leprosy, also known as Hansen's disease, is a bacterial infection that affects the nerves, the skin, eyes, and the nostril lining. It attacks the nerves and leaves them and the surrounding skin inflamed. The damage, often done to the nerves, causes the patient to lose all feeling in that area, sometimes leading to dangerous and more serious injuries. The skin changes color, becomes dry and flaky. Untreated, the damage can cause paralysis and even cause the body to reabsorb digits, like your fingers and your toes. It's not a fun disease. Did you know? Off the shore of Massachusetts, there's a small set of islands called the Elizabeth Islands. One of these islands is called Pinnakees Island. It was purchased by the state of Massachusetts in 1904 in order to house a leprosy hospital to care for the residents of the state who were infected and suffering. Even after the hospital closed, though, and the patients were relocated, people feared the island, afraid that they would catch the dreaded disease, even going near where the lepers lived. So the island stayed pretty much empty for a while, until 1924 when they opened a bird sanctuary there, with one sole man watching over it. And this is where our story begins. Osh is a man fed up with the world. One day, he gets on his boat and he sails out to an island off the coast of Massachusetts, where he hopes to live out his days in solitary peace. However, one night, while Osh was wandering around the island, he sees a baby in a float, floating in the ocean water. A baby girl. Instead of spending his days alone, he takes the baby girl in. He raises her with the help of a nosy neighbor, Miss Maggie. Osh named his new baby girl Crow. For young Crow, life on the island was perfect. If only people would stop treating her like she was a leper. Most of the people on the islands avoid getting close to her, or didn't touch her, or didn't allow her in certain places. Crow thinks she seems healthy enough, but is desperate to know more about where she came from. Could she be from the Pinakees Island? Is she infected? Are her parents still alive? Is it possible that she has a brother out there somewhere? With most of the island burned down, there's no real way of knowing until one night when everything changes. Crow sees a light on Pinakees Island and immediately desires to investigate and visit. Once Crow convinces Osh and Miss Maggie to come to the island, they find themselves in the middle of a thrilling mystery involving pirate treasure and an angry, dangerous man and her mother. Once Crow finds evidence that she was in fact born on Pinakees Island, she investigates deeper and deeper into the mystery of the island and the story of how she came to be. Little clues she finds leads her to believe that her mother left those hints to lead her to a treasure. Little clues help her realize that her mother was sending her on a treasure hunt in order to find her inheritance. At the same time, a mysterious man, the one who pretended to be the bird keeper, was digging on the island also. What? Could he be looking for treasure too? Who is this man? How does he know? And most importantly, what will he do to get what he wants? And I'll leave you with a quote from the book. I must have been very deeply asleep when I heard a thump at the door woke me. Suddenly I stumbled to my feet, dizzy and half blind with confusion, and realized that Osh was not in his bed, but out in the storm. It was only as I unlocked the door that I remembered, and by then it was too late. Before I could shove the bolt home again, the door slammed against me, knocking me to the floor, and Mr. Kindle barged through, the rain and the wind with him as if he were made of storm. You're too small to be so much trouble, Mr. Kindle said. He shut the door and locked it again. And you're too smart to think I'll leave this time without what's mine. The final book I have to share with you today is The Red Bandana by Tom Rinaldi. This book is historical fact. It tells the story of a hero amongst the rubble of the Twin Towers. It's for ages 10 plus, grades about 6 to 8. If your world literally came crashing down around you, how would you react? During a time of panic and fight or flight responses, would you fight or would you fly? Could you say that if the world turned upside down, crashing and burning, you would protect those around you? Do you have it in you to be a hero? Wells Crowther did that. He did that very thing. Wells Crowther grew up like any other young man. He played sports, he had friends, he liked to have fun, he liked to laugh. Most importantly, he really wanted to be a firefighter, just like his dad and his grandfather before him. But school led him on a different path, a path that led him to the Twin Towers on September 11th, 2001. There were 14,154 people in the World Trade Center that morning. It was a city unto itself. The towers totaled 220 floors of Manhattan real estate. Each floor was nearly an acre of space, roughly equivalent to the size of a football field, stacked on top of each other, separated by 12 feet of steel and a floor number. Impact, 8:46:40 a.m. The jet slams into the north side of the building, killing all 92 people on board as it exploded through 7 floors of the North Tower. The force of the crash was so great, parts of the plane's landing gear burst out from the south side of the tower, opposite where the plane entered, flying the length of 5 city blocks through the air before landing in the street. The plane's fuel ignited on impact. 9:03:02 a.m. United Airlines Flight 175, South Tower. The plane, carrying nearly a full load of 10,000 gallons of fuel, tilted its left wing just as it hurled itself into the building. The wing sliced through 7 floors of the tower in the initial crash point, the impact zone running from the 78th floor to the 84th. Upon hitting the facade, the jet fuel ignited, spreading across space, bursting into savage fires and sending out waves of broiling heat. 2 women, Lin Young and Judy Ween, were on the 78th floor when the second plane hit the tower. The women were trying, among many others, to get out of the building. The wing of Flight 175 burst through the wall. The lobby exploded. The impact threw Ling to from one end of the elevator lobby to the other. She lay on the floor, nearly smothered in dust and debris for what felt like minutes before she could even sit up. Fires burned a small distance away in the middle of the lobby, and flames were shooting out from the elevator shafts. The wall and the ceiling of the lobby had vaporized. Huge banks of windows shattered. Both women were in shock after the impact, stunned into stillness. That is, until they heard a voice through the dark, the smoke, and the flame. "I found the stairs," the voice said. "Follow me. Only help the ones that you can help, and follow me." According to Ling, the young man ushered survivors and even carried some down the stairs relatively safely before running back up to check for more survivors who needed help. The only thing she remembers about the man was it was a young man, not very husky, very short hair. She thought she saw him with a red bandana. Now this red bandana holds significance for Wells, because he always carried it with him since the day his father gave it to him when he was a very young boy. His father also carried a bandana. It was blue. 56 minutes after Flight 175 hit the South Tower, 9:59 a.m., collapse. The South Tower disintegrated. Disintegration took 10 seconds. 10 seconds for the tower's 750 million tons of heavy steel and concrete to drop, erased from the skyline. It was not until after the tragedy that the survivors, with the help of Wells' mother, who was desperate for the answers of what happened in the last moments of his life, the world found out what he had done, that he was a hero, and that he had saved him at the cost of their own life. They're unsure of how many people he saved, but he made at least 2 trips down and back up again, and was found on the 78th floor, along with firefighters who were responding to the scene. Wells Crowther was an ordinary young man with an extraordinary drive to help people, incredible bravery. It may have cost him his life, but his legacy remains on in the people he saved, the people he knew, the people he loved, and the people that loved him.